trafficking is defined as the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of persons by means of threat or use of force, or any forms of coercion, of abduction, of fraud, of deception, of the abuse of power, of a position of vulnerability, or of giving or receiving of payments or benefits, to achieve the consent of a person having control over another person, the exploitation of the prostitution of others, or other forms of sexual exploitation, forced labor or services, slavery or practices similar to slavery, servitude, or the removal of organs.
The phenomenon of human trafficking, no doubt, dates back to the ancient times when victorious armies and tribes in Europe and Asia found it more profitable to use as slave people they caught in wars than to murder them just like that. In many Asian countries, likewise in Israel, slaves were brought and used for various domestic and farm labor. The 14th century Europe, these unfortunate men and women caught at wars were known as serfs, a title that has classified them as members of the lowest order and are owned, in most cases, by the lords of the manor. They attended to his mundane wishes, worked in farms, and depended solely on him for their livelihood.
In a nutshell, there is a demand for it. Men around the world profit in pleasure and in price from the exploitation of women and children. Poverty and global disparities in the rule of law are conditions in which human trafficking, like HIV and AIDS and other killers of the poor, thrive. In poorer regions of the world where education and employment opportunities are limited, the most vulnerable in society, runaways, refugees, or other displaced persons, are the most common victims of human trafficking. People who are seeking opportunity and entry into other countries may be picked up by traffickers and misled into thinking that they will be free after being smuggled across the border. In other cases, such as armed conflict, and some trafficked humans are captured through slave raiding. Trafficking of children often involves exploitation of the parents' extreme poverty. The latter may sell children to traffickers in order to pay off debts or gain income, or they may be deceived concerning the prospects of training and a better life for their children. Human trafficking violates Articles 4 and 5 of the Declaration of Human Rights. Human trafficking involves the slavery of women and children, which violates Article 4, and cruel punishment is given to them, which violates Article 5. The act of trafficking and the intended human rights violations can have very serious consequences for the victim. Women who have been trafficked may have suffered from serious health problems, including physical health, reproductive health, and mental health problems. Service providers who work with victims should be aware of the severe and interrelated health consequences that result from trafficking.
Year after year, the number of saved victims is increasing due to the publicized stories of these survivors. Many people in the United States are becoming more and more aware of the horrific events in today's society. Many people do not even know what is happening in their backyard. Many commercials, campaigns, and protests concerning this issue makes it more aware to the public of the horrible things happening today. For example, a total of 436 came from Texas.
More than 18,000 total cases of human trafficking have been reported to the NHTRC hotline in the last 8 years. The hotline received an average of 100 calls per day. In 2014, an estimated 1 out of every 6 endangered runaways reported to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children were likely sex trafficking victims. Of those, 68% were in the care of social services or foster care when they ran.
Did you know that Houston ranks #1 among the U.S. cities thought to have most victims human trafficking? Last year, 144 trafficking cases were reported in Houston. FBI agents say Diaz Juarez is a pimp who locks women and girls in rooms in Houston and forces them to have sex. Children exploited through prostitution report they typically are given a quota by their trafficker or pimp of 10 to 15 buyers per night. Utilizing a conservative estimate, a domestic minor sex trafficking victim would be raped by 6,000 buyers during the course of her victimization through prostitution. In West Africa, trafficked children have often lost one or both parents to the African AIDS crisis. Reporters have witnessed a rapid increase in prostitution in Cambodia, Bosnia, and Kosovo after UN, and in the case of the latter two, NATO peacekeeping forces moved in. Peacekeeping forces have been linked to trafficking and forced prostitution. Proponents of peacekeeping argue that the actions of a few should not incriminate the many participants in the mission. Yet, NATO and the UN have come under criticism for not taking the issue of forced prostitution linked to peacekeeping missions seriously enough. That's it. That last part doesn't say anything. It's just like,
Oh, okay.
be aware of the severe and interrelated health consequences that result from trafficking.